I'd been watching, of course, as we all had, all this caravan coverage for months and months and months. I'd been seeing the Fox News version of it, I'd seen the CNN version of it, I'd seen the far left version of it, and I'd seen the far right version of it. But I realized when we got there that no one was really telling the story. No one was telling it. Not the way that I think it still needs to be told.
Ya no se puede vivir mucha violencia. Uno tiene que salir huyendo.
What's happening down there is shocking. I've heard about the so-called list.
There's a wait list for people to access the port of entry. It creates this backlog of people in Tijuana, and it's pushing it to the breaking point.
If that needs to be changed, it needs to be addressed with Congress. It needs to be changed through law.
To protect our families, we must secure our borders.
But until then, it's just the system is bogged down and the system is bogged down.
Tantos muertos en tal lado, tantas masacres, tantos niños, tantas mujeres. Nunca pensé venir acá, pedir ayuda.
This is where it all comes down. Thousands of people coming all this way, this is what they have to face, is this one gate and this one set of gatekeepers. So I specialize in deportation, defense, and asylum law. Consider a lot of what we do to be death penalty work. There's a pretty solid percentage of the people I'm working with who are going to suffer something if they have to go back. I really wanted to see it. I just wanted to see it for myself because we'd just spent months hearing about this caravan. Okay. All right. You gotta put your dumb hat on. So I thought, let's just go see the border and let's go talk to some people who are trying to get across and try to understand what we can do for them.
Los mareros, las maras, me estaban extorsionando. Cuando miraron de que yo no podía pagarles, entonces me mataron a mi hijo.
Me empezaron a decir, te vas a morir. Yo tenía miedo porque yo sentía que en ese momento iba a llegar el hombre, esos mareros.
De mi caso son miles que hay allá en el país.
It's the first refugee camp on the American border that I'm aware of. It's just never happened in American history. ¿Sabe del proceso de asilo, del proceso de inmigración en los Estados Unidos básicos? La lista es primero.
There's approximately 7,000 to 10,000 asylum seekers waiting in the city to access the port of entry. Right now in Tijuana, we are in the midst of a humanitarian crisis because so many asylum seekers have arrived at one time, and it creates anti-immigrant sentiment here.
Ya no puede estar aquí, ya no aguantan los robos, el olor a marihuana y el cochinero que tienen, punto.
Is it just from what I'm seeing right now, and again, I just got here, but it seems to me that that's the problem, is that you've created this choke point where everybody has to wait. They called out 15 names this morning.
Yeah, the thing is, everybody knows, with the Trump administration, immigration is harder.
Yeah.
Political asylum is harder to get.
Of course.
But
and just getting in the door is harder. That's by design, I think. This system with the list, because I was just watching it for a while all this morning, it doesn't, there's no international law here. There's no...
You have like 1 million or more immigrants coming in every year, so 5,000, 6,000 shouldn't be a problem.
I agree.
If they want to do things legally.
I agree. If you don't give people the opportunity to get in the door, to even present the claim, because that's what I'm seeing right now, it's very concerning.
We're talking about an invasion of our country with drugs, with human traffickers, with all types of criminals and gangs.
I think he thinks that just people crossing a border is a humanitarian crisis. But I don't think that Trump understands what a humanitarian crisis is. He needs to come here and see it.
Fixed wing, and we're just to the east of this group of 4. It looks like a family unit. Hey, I got you on a fixed wing. No, he doesn't. I got a single airport. To the east where there's a break in the fence. They're going to get there pretty quickly. They're walking at a high pace.
While I'm assigned to this specific area of the border, I'm gonna do everything that I can to make sure nothing crosses. If something does cross, I'm gonna do my damnedest to apprehend them. I could be here one day and nobody or nothing comes across, and I could be here the next day and high as 100 on a given day.
¿De dónde eres? Honduras. ¿De Honduras? ¿Te metiste con la caravana? No. ¿Seguro? Seguro. ¿No traes identificación aquí adentro? Ahí. ¿Aquí? Sí, ahí viene. ¿No traes dinero? Nada.
We want everybody to come through our front door. They need to just be patient and wait and present themselves at the port of entry.
Jóvenes, ¿de dónde eres? Saca las manos, por favor, ¿ok? ¿De dónde eres? Guatemala. ¿Guatemala? ¿Y tú? No, siéntate. Ok. ¿Y tú? ¿Y tú? ¿Cuántos años tiene?
Yo tengo
13. ¿13? 14. ¿Y tú? 15. This group, did they give up or were they trying to get away?
They're give-ups.
They're give-ups?
That's super colors. We were like third on the scene.
All right. This family unit, we would consider a family unit. We have a father-son, all from Guatemala, see? De Guatemala? What the agents are telling us is more or less give up. So they crossed the border, jumped the fence, and surrendered themselves to agents.
You want to keep it on the other ones?
Yeah. Hagan lugar por aquí, señorita.
So these are the bollards from the fence. So this one's cut here. Usually smugglers will take a grinder, cut it open, and then make a small hole at the bottom of the fence there. So there's a hole right there.
The hotel was Bravo 229. There have been times where I have apprehended people and that person ends up being wanted by a certain police department, or this person was a prior sex offender, or this person is a known affiliate of a gang. I mean, and these are all people that if we don't apprehend them, they're gonna blend into society. It's a constant competition, right? It's us against them. I am literally protecting America when I'm out there working. We are an agency that strives in being humanitarian.
¿La niña es de usted?
Sí.
¿Cuántos años tiene la niña?
10 meses cumplió.
We save as many people as we can, and we help as many people as we can while doing our job to protect this country. Not one time will I ever hesitate to render first aid, to help somebody out, to give them my lunch, to give them my water. I understand how everybody wants a better life, but there's a right way to do it.
I actually want to get this one framed, it's so good. Due process my ass. Illegal aliens need to turn on a heel and go the back to their own countries. But I get that a lot. A lot of people seem to think that immigration lawyers are somehow traitorous or working against the United States. Well, let's talk about the law first, which is that anyone should be able to walk up to a port of entry and claim asylum. That's the Refugee Act of 1980. That is an international treaty. It's been around a long time, and it's the basic concept of asylum that we've known since biblical times. That you should be able to walk up to a country and say, I cannot go back to my country. That's how it's supposed to work. But the metering system started in late 2016 when several thousand Haitian asylum seekers showed up. And that was the point at which CBP finally said, no, we're going to start limiting these people. You can take a number and wait. But the problem is you can't officially make people take a number and wait. So in Tijuana, the solution they came up with was having the asylum seekers themselves manage and regulate this list.
The list is a wait list for people to access the port of entry. There's a lot of corruption in how people get on that list. Payoffs, sexual favors, wait times are purposely inflated. The list itself is a product of the collaboration of the US and Mexican government, although both governments would indicate publicly otherwise. So this is a highly coordinated effort between two governments in order to stem the flow of migration and prevent access to the port of entry. The list is highly illegal. We are currently involved in class action litigation against the Department of Homeland Security for blocking access to the port of entry where asylum seekers would legally begin that process. We are receiving the victims of our own foreign policy.
Good afternoon. War is raging in Guatemala, our nearest neighbor to the south of Mexico. The fighting began last night. Our Benson's pro-communist policies have invoked the openly avowed wrath of our State Department.
What's happening in Central America right now can be directly traced to decades of United States military and economic interventions in these countries. The United States has actively intervened to undermine democratic governments that have tried to redistribute wealth and power in their societies. The United States has supported friendly dictatorships in Central America. In the 1950s, in Guatemala, the CIA intervened to overthrow the country's democratically elected president. That helped provoke a civil war that went on for more than 30 years. In Honduras, most recently, it's the US's support for the 2009 coup against Manuel Zelaya, who had been democratically elected. Honduras being one of the countries in the world with the highest homicide rate anywhere, and that includes countries that are actively at war. Then in the 1980s, a civil war in El Salvador, where the United States similarly backed repressive military regimes and death squads in the name of fighting quote-unquote communism. The United States is also responsible because since you first started having Central American migrants fleeing those civil wars of the 1980s, huge sectors of the US economy have depended upon US employers' access to undocumented Central American labor in the United States. So the migration issue is not something that is happening far away. There are whole sectors of US agribusiness, meat packing, vegetable harvesting, farming that have depended upon, that have profited from undocumented workers. Another consequence of those wars that the US had helped fuel was that when those civil wars came to an end, they left behind economies that had been totally devastated and tremendous amounts of everyday violence, targeting specific individuals and threatening them and saying, if you don't pay us this much money this week, we're gonna kill your son. And so if someone says that to you, of course you're gonna leave. You can't stay.
Fue muy difícil dormir en los parques. Pensar que alguien le puede ir a arrebatar a las niñas. Nosotros no dormíamos bien. A ver, vete bien. Soy Lidia y tengo 24 años. Estoy embarazada, tengo 6 meses. Pues mi hermano y él salió un día a su trabajo, entonces en ese día se desapareció. Y entonces al día siguiente, a las 9 de la mañana, ya lo encontraron muerto a él. A él lo torturaron, solo tenía 18 años. Es que como a él lo quisieron meter a maras y él no quiso, entonces por eso mejor lo mataron. Es mi papá. Aquí donde se ve un poquito tapado, aquí están los pies de él. Y la de mi papá fue hace 4 meses ahorita. También lo encontraron muerto, torturado, con puñaladas de arma blanca en el cuello y en el estómago. Esta es la amenaza que me mandaron a mí por mensaje. Sí, es muy difícil vivir allá. Por eso nosotros decidimos venirnos para aquí, porque está muy peligroso. Y más las amenazas que a mí me mandan, que te vas a morir.
No one wants to leave their home and march for hundreds of miles to another country where they don't speak the language or know anything about it. Nobody wants to do that. Our national priorities right now are not to help asylum seekers, they're to build a fortress on the border. That's what we want to do as a nation. So
The way that we justify doing that, the way that we always justify doing bad things to people is to say, well, these are bad people. If I'm allowing these terrible things to happen and these people to be immiserated, there must be a reason. It has to be their fault somehow, right?
Soy de Honduras. Yo de mi casa salí en la caravana. Yo fui testigo de acusar a unas personas, a unos delincuentes muy peligrosos. Las autoridades me inducieron a que iba a haber una seguridad y que ellos siempre me iban a proteger. Abrieron el expediente y se dieron cuenta a quiénes eran los testigos. Me dijeron, ¿sabes qué? Te conviene mejor que te vayas, que busques a dónde ocultarte donde nunca te vuelvan a ver. Aquí son habitaciones de compañeros. Todas están habitadas de todo Centroamérica, de Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala. Yo soy perseguido y me quieren matar y mi vida peligra. Si yo voy a mi país, regreso. Aquí es donde duermo. Acá. Fui, entonces llegué, agarré mi número. Y he esperado, creo que voy a esperar 3 meses. En Honduras, moviéndome de un lado para otro, no he encontrado paz, perdí mi familia.
Guarda su corazón, Padre, Señor. Guarda su mente, sus pensamientos, Señor.
Eso está
Ayuda
cada
su vida,
día,
Padre.
escuchas muertos. Tú sabes, aquí en México también tenemos temor. Vemos cuántas personas no las han matado aquí donde estamos.
So this kid, Jason, that we had met in the last trip was staying at this shelter with a bunch of other children. And he was lured out with some promises. We don't know exactly what they were, but it was enough to get him and his friend out. Their bodies were found the next day. It was 9 days after we'd met him. From what we know, they were harmed pretty badly and strangled, and their bodies were found in a side street. I've been hearing these stories for 13 years that I've been practicing about what these people do to other people, but to actually encounter it and then just to have it happen to somebody you just met, somebody you'd spent a few hours with, 17-year-old kid.
You can completely see where they came up here, came right up here, ran right across, and were picked up and they were gone. And as you saw up there, how quick it was to get to Highway 98. And these two got away. We don't have enough agents to be able to be on every road or anything like that, so do the best that we can. We win some, we lose some.
Colon Meadows, the Circle K. Colon Meadows.
Okay, so right now we're going to the repatriation gate between the United States and Mexico, where an agent is currently in the process of repatriating nationals from Mexico back into Mexico.
Pásale por acá, a ver el número. El número de la bolsa. Listos, pásenle para acá.
María Aguilar Leonardo.
Gracias, gracias, buen día. Thanks, Anthony. You have a good one, man. If I don't see you before the holidays, man, Merry Christmas and
We're working
happy
in this
holidays,
very
brother.
strange environment
Enjoy with the
where
family.
there are no real rules. A lot of it's just kind of as we go. And people's lives are at stake.
No es por riqueza que voy yo, por ambición, nada, sino que por sus vidas de uno, por protegerla.
Its policy has been the same for the entire year. It's build the wall, it's deport the illegal aliens who have criminal records, it's making sure people leave and come back in the right way.
You wait in line, you follow the rules like my father did in 1957.
1741,
We have this absurd situation where most Americans are living in 1923, where they think that if the right people just want to come here and do it the right way, they can do it.
And there's that fundamental disconnect, and I've been trying to say it for as long as I've been doing this, and I don't know how else to say it. There is no line, there's no process, there's no forms to fill out, there's no fees to pay. For almost all of these people, asylum is the only thing that could ever protect them and they could ever apply for.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.